Hello everyone, and welcome to How-FixIT. If your DJI remote controller isn't charging, not connecting to your phone or drone, has problems with the buttons or joysticks, or won't power on, this guide can help you fix it. In this video, I'll show you how to disassemble the DJI RC-N3 Remote Controller, inspect its internal components, and safely replace damaged housing parts: the battery, control stick modules, main board, USB-C port, shutter and record button board, gimbal control dial, or antenna module. I'll also include the full reassembly process so you can put it all back together and complete the repair properly. For this repair, you will need a precision screwdriver set. You will also need tweezers and plastic pry tools to open the controller housing safely. I've included links to the tools and replacement parts in the video description below. I also recommend using a magnetic mat to organize all screws and small parts during the repair process. The remote controller uses many small screws of different sizes, and keeping each screw in the correct location will make reassembly much easier. A magnetic mat also helps hold small metal parts in place and reduces the risk of losing screws or making assembly mistakes. So, let's get started. Begin the disassembly by removing 4 screws from the controller housing. 2 screws are located on the bottom side of the controller near the control stick storage area, and the other 2 screws are hidden under the rubber covers near the top phone holder area. First, remove the visible screws from the bottom of the remote controller. Next, use tweezers to gently move the rubber covers at the top of the controller, then remove the hidden screws underneath them. Keep track of each screw location. The screws may have different lengths, and installing them in the wrong place during reassembly can damage the housing or internal components. After removing the screws, place your fingers on the top part of the controller housing and gently start separating the front and rear panels to create the first gap. Once a small gap appears between the 2 halves of the housing, insert a thin plastic pry tool into the seam and carefully release the clips around the perimeter. Work slowly around the edges of the controller. Do not force the housing open because the internal connectors and plastic clips can be damaged. Once the upper clips are released, do not fully open the case yet. First, carefully disconnect the joystick cable from the main board. After disconnecting this cable, you can safely open the controller housing. The front cover contains the control stick modules, while the other internal modules are located on the rear cover. We'll begin by disassembling the rear cover. If you only need to replace the joysticks, use the timestamp to go directly to the control stick module replacement section. Using a 1.5mm hex screwdriver, remove the 4 screws securing the metal heat spreading plate. There is thermal paste between the metal plate and the main board. Do not wipe it off. Keep the thermal paste clean so it can be reused during reassembly, or replace it with fresh thermal paste if it is dry or contaminated. Now, disconnect the battery cable from the main board. Use tweezers to carefully release the connector from the adhesive, then disconnect the battery connector. Do not pull on the wires directly. Next, remove the 2 screws securing the battery bracket. Now you can remove and replace the battery. The battery should be replaced if the remote controller does not power on, shuts down unexpectedly, drains too quickly, does not hold a charge, or if the battery is swollen or physically damaged. Never reuse a swollen or damaged battery. I've included a link to a replacement battery for the DJI remote controller in the video description below. Now disconnect all cables and antenna connectors from the main board. After that, remove the 7 screws securing the main board to the housing. Now you can remove the main board from the controller case. On the back of the board there is a metal heat spreading plate. There is also thermal paste between the metal plate and the main board, so do not wipe it off. If you are replacing the main board, you can reuse the thermal paste if it is still in good condition. If the thermal paste is dry, dirty, or damaged, apply fresh thermal compound during reassembly. The main board should be replaced if the controller has no power, does not detect internal modules, has serious liquid damage, does not communicate with the drone, or if several functions fail at the same time. I've included a link to a replacement main board in the video description below. Now remove the 2 control stick storage compartments at the bottom of the housing. Next, remove the antenna module and phone holder assembly. Remove the 8 screws securing this assembly to the rear cover. Then remove the antenna wire compartment cover and unscrew the 3 additional screws underneath it. Now you can remove the antenna module and phone holder assembly from the housing. Be careful with the 2 springs inside the phone holder mechanism. Do not damage or lose them. Next, remove the 2 screws securing the USB-C phone connection port module to the rear cover. This separate USB-C module is used for data communication between the remote controller and the smartphone. The USB-C phone connection port module should be replaced if the remote controller does not connect to your smartphone or the DJI Fly app does not detect the controller. The connection works only when the cable is moved, or the video feed and controller connection are unstable. Replace this module if the USB-C connector is loose, damaged, corroded, contaminated with liquid, or if its cable or connector to the main board is damaged. Now remove the 2 screws securing the shutter and record button board bracket. The shutter and record button board should be replaced if the photo or video button does not respond, works only sometimes, feels physically damaged, or if the button board has corrosion or liquid damage. Next, remove the 3 screws securing the gimbal control dial board. The gimbal control dial should be replaced if the camera tilt control does not work, responds incorrectly, moves unevenly, or if the dial was physically damaged after a drop. The mechanical dial wheel is located separately from the board. If the board works correctly and the problem is only with the mechanical wheel, you can replace the wheel separately. The same applies to the record button cover. If the button board works correctly but the button cover is cracked or badly damaged, the cover can be replaced separately. At this point, we have removed all the parts from the rear cover of the controller housing. Now we can move on to the front cover. Remove the 4 screws securing the control stick module to the front housing. Then lift the joystick module out of the housing. Pay attention to the left and right control stick modules. They may look similar, but they are usually not interchangeable. If you are replacing a joystick because of stick drift, broken movement, calibration problems, or incorrect stick response, make sure the replacement module matches the correct side of the controller. Next, remove the control stick cap if needed. The joystick cap is secured with a small screw inside the cap. Use a T3 Torx screwdriver to remove it carefully. I've included a link to a replacement joystick module for the DJI RC-N3 Remote Controller in the video description below. When reinstalling the joystick cap later, make sure the internal shape and alignment tab match the joystick shaft before tightening the screw. The second joystick module is removed in the same way. Remove the 4 screws and lift the module off the front panel. Also, remember that the left and right joystick modules have different part numbers, so keep this in mind when ordering replacement parts. After removing both joystick modules, the front housing panel is completely free. If your goal is to replace damaged housing parts, now is the time to do it. At this point, the DJI RC-N3 Remote Controller is disassembled into its main replaceable modules: the front and rear housing, battery, mainboard, control stick modules, shutter and record button board, gimbal control dial module, USB-C port module, and antenna module assembly. Before reassembly, inspect every connector and cable. Check for corrosion, liquid damage, torn cables, broken plastic clips, damaged button caps, and loose connectors. Now let's reassemble the remote controller. Start with the front housing panel. Install the correct left and right control stick modules into their original positions and secure each module with 4 screws. Now move to the rear housing. Install the shutter and record button board. Place the board and bracket in position, then secure them with 2 screws. Next, install the gimbal control dial board and secure it with 3 screws. Make sure the mechanical dial wheel is seated correctly and rotates smoothly. Install the USB-C phone connection port module and secure it with 2 screws. Make sure the USB-C port is aligned correctly with the opening in the housing and the cable is not twisted or pinched. Now reinstall the antenna module and phone holder assembly. Make sure the 2 springs are installed correctly before placing the assembly into the housing. Secure the antenna module and phone holder assembly with the screws, then reinstall the antenna wire compartment cover. Check that the antenna wires are routed exactly as they were before disassembly. Now place the main board back into the rear housing. Before securing it, make sure no cables are trapped underneath the board. Secure the main board with 7 screws. Reconnect all cables and antenna connectors to the main board. Check each connector carefully and make sure it is fully seated. Install the battery and reconnect to the main board. Make sure the connector is fully seated and the battery wires are not pinched. Install the battery bracket and secure it with the 2 screws. Reinstall the metal heat spreading plate and secure it with the 4 screws. Install the 2 control stick storage compartments at the bottom of the housing. Before closing the controller housing, check the internal layout. Now bring the front and rear housing panels together and reconnect the joystick cable to the main board. Press the housing clips back into place around the perimeter. Reinstall the 2 screws at the bottom of the controller near the control stick storage area. Then reinstall the 2 screws hidden under the rubber covers near the top phone holder area. Connect the charging cable and check that the battery charge indicator turns on. Then connect it to DJI Fly and check that the controller is detected by the app. If you found this guide helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more tech tips and guides. Visit our website for more insights and do-it-yourself guides. Remember, every tech challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Thanks for watching How-FixIT, and we'll see you in the next one.